I've been totally played. My ex-girlfriend, cold, rigid, and impossibly uptight, snatched me away to her fox den the moment we broke up. Furious and out for blood. Her 9 soft tails kept brushing against me like I was completely worthless. Now she's glued to me like a shadow. Help. Could it be she's actually a fox spirit? I'd been dating the school's beauty queen for half a year, and I was bored out of my mind. She was just too stiff, too serious, too damn uptight. Every time I tried to touch her, it felt like I was reluctantly performing some sacred duty to save all sentient beings. Hold hands in public? She'd yank her hand away, saying it wasn't appropriate. Want a hug? Denied. Improper, she'd say. Anything beyond that? Forget it. Her face would instantly darken like the bottom of a burnt pot, scolding me for corrupting public morals. So for as long as I'd loved her, I'd basically lived like a widower. After countless rejections, every time I asked for a kiss or even a simple hug, I finally snapped. I broke up with her on the spot. Don't even bother dating again. Just hug your wooden temple block and lecture the world on virtue. Harper frowned at me. A wooden temple block? Only monks use those. Exactly. It suits you perfectly. Might as well make full use of it. How utterly dull. I stormed off in anger. Harper didn't even flinch. She just went back to typing her thesis like always. I slammed the door behind me, and she didn't react at all. Truth was, it was always like this. No matter how mad I got, genuinely or just pretending, she never once tried to soothe me. She only ever did one thing: wait patiently for me to cool down and come back on my own. I'd often wondered, did she only agree to date me because I annoyed her into saying yes? But then again, she remembered every single one of my preferences and quietly prepared everything with meticulous care. It was enough to give anyone a headache. I called my best friend. We broke up. Let's hit the clubs tonight. You dumped her? James shot me a glare, nearly splashing beer foam in my face. Seriously? If you're dumb enough to dump Harper, you've got no idea how lucky you were. She's smart, gorgeous, loaded with scholarships, 0 bad habits, and you're walking away? I nodded, irritated. So what if she's pretty or smart? If I can look but never touch, what's the point? People like Harper probably just don't get romance. That's normal. Normal my ass. She flat out refuses to understand. She won't let me hold her hand, won't let me hug her, and always looks at me like I'm some weird alien species. But James, do you really think I can take it? Love's supposed to be give and take. Man. He took another swig of beer and asked, are you really okay with this? Everyone knows how long you chased her. You've only been together 6 months, already calling it quits? Better to break up than keep suffering. I muttered, head down, a heavy knot twisting in my chest. Honestly, I don't think she ever liked me at all. Look, since I said, break up, she hasn't even called once. VRRR, VRRR, VRRR. My phone buzzed. It was Harper. My friend smirked wickedly. See? Every couple fights, then makes up. I rarely blushed, but I answered anyway. Before I could say a word, her voice came through, crisp and clear. Your clothes from last night still aren't washed. Come back and get them. And all those shoes, too. They're taking up way too much space. I choked. I don't need them, I yelled into the phone. Harper, just throw everything out. I don't need you anymore either. I'm completely done with you. I hung up. Clearly, Harper couldn't care less about me. My friend stayed quiet for a beat, poured me another drink, and cursed. Women are the worst. I blocked her number, deleted every trace of her contact, and dove straight onto the dance floor. Under the red lights and neon glow of the bar, emotions fermented in the thick air. I wasn't unattractive, in fact. I'd once made it onto the school's anonymous confession board. So it didn't take long before I was wrapped up with a stranger. Dancing close. What's your name? She asked with a smile. My friends are over there, I replied, but my eyes instinctively drifted past her shoulder and landed on someone. Someone who looked exactly like Harper? Come with me. Oh, it really was her. Except now her face was stormy dark. And she wore a plain white shirt that looked wildly out of place. She shoved the girl aside and grabbed my wrist. I yanked free. "Don't touch me." "So you're bored of me?" to my face. "But you're all excited hanging out in places like this?" "Damn right," I shot back. "At least she lets me kiss her, unlike you." Harper's expression turned even blacker. "So if someone lets you kiss them, that's all it takes?" she asked coldly. "Nope, they've gotta let me hug them too, however I want," I blurted out. If I'd known those words would cost me so dearly, I still would have said them anyway. Because the next second, Harper hit me. I swear, right in front of everyone. I, a grown guy, got absolutely wrecked by that girl. She dragged me out of the bar. The last thing I heard before blacking out was her hissing, "You just wait." When I woke up, I almost thought I'd time traveled. Before me stretched an ancient-looking room. Stone walls hung with lotus-shaped lanterns, casting a soft, tranquil glow. A large wooden bed, draped in crimson silk embroidered with lotus blossoms. Inside the empty stone house, I fumbled my way to the pillow and found my phone. No signal. I curled up, wrapping myself tightly in the blankets, and whispered, "Harper?" She answered, her voice lazy, drawn out, slow. A second later, she was sitting beside me. "James?" I froze. Because behind Harper, I saw 9 soft, silken foxtails. She narrowed her eyes and leaned in close, her fox ears brushing gently against my hair. "Feeling better yet?" Before I could react, she grabbed both my wrists and pinned them above my head. I lay flat on my back, while her foxtails coiled around me, their velvety touch gliding over every patch of bare skin, sending unfamiliar, electric sensations through my body. I wanted to curl up, but there was nowhere left to retreat. Harper seemed like a completely different person. She dipped her head and lightly inhaled the scent of my shoulder. Her breath was feather-light, so light it made my heart race wildly. "Harper? The lazy fox spirit glanced at me, then smiled, her fingers threading through my hair. "James, still bored?" The stone chamber had no windows. The lotus lanterns flickered softly, casting shifting light across Harper's breathtaking face. The fox ears atop her head weren't cute at all, they radiated pure, seductive allure. I was speechless. All I could do was swallow hard. "Damn it. Why so quiet?" She let out a soft, trembling murmur right by my ear. "Back at the bar, you said kissing alone isn't enough. You need to hug? Hug wherever you want. And if touching still isn't enough, what then?" "Harper." I immediately caught her wandering hand, more flustered than I'd ever been. "You've changed? You weren't like this yesterday." She looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "Oh, and how was I yesterday?" "Yesterday, you were basically a nun. Today, you've turned into a seductress, a 9-tailed fox spirit. From a Buddha who scolded physical affection as sinful, to a fox demon who could devour a man with just one glance." A crimson, mesmerizing mark appeared on Harper's forehead. Glowing, hypnotic. Her gaze deepened, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "Now that you know I'm a fox spirit, do you really still dare talk to me like that?" She wore a snow-white sleep robe. Thin, translucent, revealing just enough to hint at what lay beneath. I wanted to pull away, but my body wouldn't move. "James?" Her eyes grew darker, clouded with emotion. "So now you get out." The air turned icy in an instant. Her expression hardened, cold, distant. But then, just as quickly, softened into confusion. "What's with that act now? When we broke up, you didn't say a word. Then you called me right after I left, telling me to come back for my things. Am I really that unbearable to you? If you don't like me, fine. But then why agree to be with me in the first place? Was it just to mock me? Harper, stay away from me. I don't need you anymore." I turned my face away, pretending not to care. But the truth was, I couldn't not care. If you really cared about me, Why had you never once tried to comfort me? Why, when you saw me talking to another girl, did you storm over in front of everyone and just carry me off like that? And now, why are you doing all this? Fury boiled over. I lashed out, kicking her away. Harper, you're a damn monster. She froze mid-motion. I could clearly feel her confusion. But in that moment, I hated how weak I was. Just one flicker of emotion from her, and my resolve crumbled. My eyes stung with sudden wetness. Her fingers gently wiped the sweat from my brow. She went still again, then slowly leaned down and kissed the damp spot on my skin. Her fox ears drooped. Tears glistened in her eyes as she looked at me, silent. I gritted my teeth and asked, Harper, I don't care if you're human or a fox spirit. Do you even like me or not? 1, 2. Harper clearly stepped back. I frowned, unable to hold it in anymore, and shoved her hard off the bed. Get out, you worthless fox demon. After she left, exhausted and drained, I fell asleep right there on the bed. She walked away so slowly. Even when closing the door, she never once looked back at me. But in my dream, I saw her again. Not cold like before. Not aggressive or possessive like tonight. Just gentle, soft, holding me with quiet tenderness. Not saying a word. Her 9 fox tails wrapped tightly around me. Warm and comforting. Accompanied by light, hesitant kisses. In the dream, I was still angry. I pushed her away without a word. But she only held me tighter. Don't break up with me. Do you even like me? Yes, just let me have you. She fell silent again. I woke up furious. But the moment I opened my eyes, one of her soft fox tails was still curled gently around my waist. The others? I was lying right on top of them. One even draped over my leg like a blanket. And beyond those tails was Harper's peaceful sleeping face. Suddenly looking so sweet, so obedient. My heart ached. Why hadn't I noticed last night how big her tails were? How fluffy, how impossibly soft. I shifted slightly, and her tails instantly pressed closer against me. Her sleepwear hung loosely on her, revealing her collarbone and a patch of flushed skin, along with a faint, pale scar trailing just beyond. I reached out, wanting to touch it, but a quiet voice cut me off. Why push my tails away? Was it just an excuse to touch me? Harper was awake, and the first thing she said stunned me. Go ahead. Touch me until you're satisfied. And when you're done, stop being mad. I turned my back, seething. Like I'd even want to. No? Then why can't you take your eyes off me? Harper, I want to go home. She stayed silent for a long while, then finally spoke. You didn't answer. That means you agree. You're not leaving. I froze. The next second, strong arms locked around my waist. She pulled me tightly against her, her tails coiling around me like a warm embrace. I already said, you're not going anywhere. Didn't you always complain we never had time to go out together? Outside this fox den, there's so much to explore. We can stay here for a while. Harper had never spoken to me like this before. Never been this firm, this determined. No. She'd always given in to me before. Always just said, whatever you want. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. She leaned in even closer. Then, ever so softly, kissed my cheek. After the kiss, Harper pulled back just slightly, gazing into my eyes. Then she kissed me again, this time, my chin. Seeing that I didn't resist, or show any reaction at all, she leaned over me. Her soft fox tails enveloped us both, and the room fell so quiet that all I could hear was our gentle breathing. From my chin, her lips traced up to the bridge of my nose, then my eyebrows, finally pausing between them, before drifting down to my lips. She brushed against them lightly, pulled away, then pressed down again, deeper this time. This counted as our first real kiss. No pretense, no hesitation. Harper drew back a little. Her lashes lowered as she looked at me and whispered, James, don't break up with me anymore. Promise you won't. She was pleading with me not to leave. My mind spun in confusion. I didn't know what to say. So I awkwardly changed the subject. Couldn't sleep last night? There were faint shadows under her eyes. She murmured. You were crushing my tails all night. I couldn't sleep at all. Crushing? I glanced down. Oh, sorry. Harper didn't reply. She just kept looking at me, as if waiting for something. After a moment, when I still said nothing, she let out a soft sigh. Fine, I'll forgive you. Then she sat up, gathering her tails to one side. I started to rise, but she lifted one of my legs. Don't move. A cool sensation brushed my ankle, followed by a soft, clear ting. She held my foot in her hands. Her fingers pale, slender, and delicate, yet now they sent an indescribable shiver through me. It was a tiny bell, threaded onto a silver chain. She fastened it around my ankle. It would chime faintly with every step I took. Done, she said, gently lowering my leg back down. What's this for? I asked. That way, she replied softly. No matter where you go, I'll always be able to find you. She paused, then added firmly. James, don't you dare take it off. Suddenly, I remembered the other night. I'd only gone to the bar with my best friend. Yet she'd still tracked me down. That bar district was huge. Had she really searched every single place, one by one? Harper left. I was just about to call out to her, but she vanished before I could say a word. I sat on the bed, swinging my leg gently. The little bell chimed softly with each movement, a sound so soothing it almost felt like a lullaby. The fox den was truly enormous. It took me a long time just to make it outside. With every step I took, the bell rang once, clear and delicate. Beyond the cave, sunlight flooded the sky. The garden was bursting with flowers and plants in every imaginable color. Clearly not of this mortal world. Not far off stood a massive, lush scholar tree, its branches spreading wide. Harper was sitting beneath it. A low tea table and a tatami mat laid out before her. A teacup rested by her hand, and on the table sat ink, brush, and rice paper for traditional ink wash painting. She kept her head down, sketching quietly, not even glancing up at me. Her foxtails fanned out behind her, even larger and fuller than before. I walked closer. The bell chimed again. Harper finally looked up. Where are your shoes? Can't wear them. Why not? They broke after just a little walking yesterday. You did that on purpose, didn't you? Harper was starting trouble again. Her eyes drifted down to my bare foot, and the silver bell fastened around my ankle. Come here. Can't. The next second, the world flipped. My back hit something cold and hard. I opened my eyes to find myself sprawled across the stone table, replacing the ink painting as her new canvas. Harper hadn't even paused her brushwork. The fine wolf hair tip now hovered just above my knee. I tried to pull back, but she held me firmly in place. Don't move. The brush tip was cool against my skin, its smooth touch sending gentle ripples through my chest. Harper leaned in slightly, her long lashes soft, her narrow fox-like eyes, usually so full of emotion, now focused with quiet intensity. In just a few swift strokes, a vivid lotus bloomed on my pale knee, rendered in simple, elegant ink lines. Done. She set the brush down and gently blew on the ink. Don't smudge it. I instinctively pulled back, but she stood up immediately. If you smudge it, I'll lock you up again. We stayed in the fox den for 3 days. Then we finally stepped outside. It turned out the exit was hidden behind the hill in the city park, sealed behind a mystical barrier. Only now did my phone spring back to life. Holding it in my hand, I felt like I'd just returned from another world. Harper, so you really are some ancient relic, I muttered under my breath. Her fox hearing was incredibly sharp. She just chose not to pay attention unless she felt like it. Let's go, she said. It's been 3 days. The holiday's over. The National Day break lasted 7 days. 3 days of fighting. 1 day of breaking up. And the remaining 3 spent drifting through the fox den like a pair of old married folks. Honestly, it already felt like we were an elderly couple. I glanced down at my ankle and saw it was bare. Where's the bell? It disappeared once we crossed the barrier. Harper casually reached for my hand. Otherwise, we'd run into trouble. My heart fluttered. Slowly, I tightened my grip around hers. Lately, Harper had been kissing me more and more naturally, as if it were the most ordinary thing in the world. But that unanswered question, "Do you even like me?" still stuck in my chest like a thorn. And that thorn finally pierced deep when I got a call from my best friend and saw the school's confession wall blowing up online. Someone had recorded the whole scene at the bar that night when Harper carried me off. There were videos, photos, everything. No way, James. Wild like that? He used to chase her so dramatically. Such a waste for our school beauty queen. Wait, was he flirting with someone else behind his girlfriend's back? Does he even have morals? Poor beauty queen. Got cheated on before she even knew it. Honestly, someone should beat him up and throw him in the river so he knows what drowning feels like. Can James just disappear already? I smiled. But inside, my heart grew colder by the second. My best friend didn't know whether Harper and I had actually broken up or not. And since I hadn't been reachable, the whole situation spiraled out of control. I scrolled through the confession wall, my brow furrowing deeper with every post. Why was everyone attacking me? Then I saw a few more comments. Don't worry, guys, Harper definitely doesn't like him. Otherwise, why would she treat him so coldly? You can tell James is the type who's always at bars. Guys like him are only fit to be gigolos. Totally agree. I'm in the same class as Harper. She's never once been affectionate with her boyfriend. It was all James throwing himself at her. And now he's mad because he didn't get what he wanted. If you don't believe us, go ask Harper yourself. It's been days. Has she said anything? Honestly, nothing at all. But I remembered clearly. Ever since we left the fox den, Harper had barely put her phone down. From the moment we crossed the barrier until now, she'd gone back to her apartment. I'd returned to my dorm. And a full day had already passed. No calls. No texts. Nothing. I tried to reassure myself. She's probably just busy with her thesis. But then I opened Facebook and saw a small red dot next to her profile picture. Harper had just shared a popular science article. I stared at the screen, dazed. Then I turned off my phone, crawled under the covers, and buried myself deep inside. Lying fox. Heartless fox. She only wanted to kiss me. Only wanted to steal my essence. But never intended to take responsibility. I lay there like that, my nose starting to sting. I'd actually thought that after spending 3 days in the fox den together, something, anything, would have changed. Turns out, nothing had changed at all. The day Harper finally accepted me was something even I never saw coming. That morning, as usual, I'd brought her a homemade breakfast and intercepted her in the hallway outside her lecture hall. At first, she was about to reject me, just like every other time. But then, I tripped right in front of her. Hot porridge splattered all over the lower half of her pants. It was almost class time, and the hallway was packed with students passing by. Panicked, I stammered apologies and scrambled to clean up the mess on the floor. People around us started whispering, "How long has he been chasing her and still no luck? Someone like Harper is meant to be admired from afar. Actually pursuing her? You'd need way more than just spilled porridge to win her over. Look at this poor guy, trying so hard again." Some comments were even harsher. I bit my lip, thinking only one thing. Today's the worst. I shouldn't have left my room. But then, a hand reached down and picked up my spilled food container. Harper had knelt beside me, ignoring the stain on her pants. She bent down to help me clean up. Her voice, soft and gentle, asked, "You do this every day? Why?" I stared at her, stunned for a moment. then answered simply, "Because of you." She looked at me for a moment, then said nothing. Just as we were almost done cleaning up, she handed the food container back to me. Our fingers brushed. I don't know what came over me. But suddenly, I gathered all my courage and asked, "Do you think I'm really hard to understand?" She shook her head. That gave me even more confidence. So I pressed on. "Then, will you go out with me? If you say yes, I won't have to keep struggling like this." My voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough for everyone passing by to hear. Whispers started rippling through the crowd. 1, 2, 3 seconds passed, and she still hadn't answered. My face burned with embarrassment. "Sorry." I scrambled to my feet, grabbed the container, and turned to run. But she caught my wrist. Harper still didn't say a word, just held me with those bewitching eyes of hers. After a long pause, she took the container from my hand and let out a soft sigh. "Let's go." And just like that, we stumbled into a relationship. The more I think back on that memory, the more I'm convinced Harper only agreed to be with me because it was temporary. Otherwise, why had she never once said she liked me? Her showing up at the bar that night was clearly just her fox instincts flaring up. A sudden burst of possessiveness. But I didn't like that. I didn't want to be owned. I just wanted a normal, honest relationship, two people caring for each other. Nothing more. If we were going to end things, it was better to do it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, I was afraid I'd never be able to forget her. So I started acting distant, hoping she'd eventually give up. With that thought in mind, I immediately switched my phone to Do Not Disturb and made up my mind to focus entirely on my studies. Harper reached out again after 3 days. She'd just finished her thesis and called to ask what I'd been up to lately. 4 whole days. Not a single message from me. And now she was casually asking what I was doing. I only picked up on her 3rd call, my voice low and flat. "Hello. Why haven't you come by lately?" She was talking about her apartment, the one with a room she'd set aside just for me. Back then, because she'd rejected every attempt at physical closeness so many times, I'd gotten upset and moved into that room at her place. "Busy," I replied now, mimicking her usual excuse. "Thesis stuff. I'm not as smart as you, I'm way behind." "Then bring it over here. I'll help you look it over." Harper rarely ever invited me so directly. Logically, I should have been thrilled, grabbed my laptop, and sprinted over without a second thought. But now, I saw things clearly. My relationship with Harper had only happened because I pushed for it. Before, she'd agreed out of pity. Now, it was just because she wanted closeness. Foxes are creatures of desire. After all, thinking that, I brushed her off with a few vague excuses and firmly declined her invitation. But I didn't expect that the moment I said I was busy with something real would actually happen. "This kid. I've called you how many times and you never pick up. Thought you didn't even consider me family anymore." My aunt was in her 40s, but tough as nails. My uncle had been a hopeless alcoholic for years. A stroke was only a matter of time. So she didn't seem too broken up about it. I'd brought them breakfast and had been staying at the hospital to help care for him for a few days now. Every single day, she reminded me how I'd ignored her calls. She shot me a sharp look, then pulled me into the hallway and lowered her voice. "We've raised you all these years. Never asked you to repay us. But now that we're in trouble, can't you at least lend a hand? I know your dad left you money before he died. Enough to last you a lifetime. But James, I've never asked you for anything. Can't you just be a little understanding?" I stayed silent. My mom died giving birth to me. Less than 2 years later, my dad passed away too. My frail grandmother back in the countryside couldn't take care of me. So she sent me to live with my aunt. For the past 10 years, all they'd given me was a tiny attic room. Not a single extra coin. I paid for my own books, wore my cousin's hand-me-down clothes, did all the housework, Even my younger cousin bullied me constantly. Whenever my aunt got angry, she'd drag me out and scream, "You're a cursed star, bringing bad luck to this whole family. Raising you only brings disaster on everyone." Since high school, I'd been working part-time jobs. After finishing university entrance exams, I handed over all my savings to my aunt. Only then did things calm down a little. I didn't have strong feelings about my uncle. I only remembered that whenever my aunt yelled at or hit me, he always turned a blind eye. "James," she pressed now, "you definitely still have plenty of money, right? Just give us half. Look at our situation. Your uncle's done for. What hope is there left? I'm out of money." I cut her off sharply. "My grandma's alone back in the village. Dad didn't leave much. And I already gave all of it to you." 3 seconds of silence hung in the air. Furious, my aunt grabbed her handbag and swung it straight at me. "You ungrateful brat. For 10 years, this family fed and clothed you. And now that we need help, you go and give every last coin to that old hag? You monster. Get out right now. You cursed star. You really do bring nothing but misfortune." She shot me one last glare and stormed off. I didn't say a word, just tossed the uneaten breakfast into the trash. I sat down on a bench in the hospital lobby. Outside, rain began to fall. I pulled out my phone and opened my contacts. My finger hovered over Harper's number, then stopped. 2 seconds later, I put the phone away. No umbrella. I'd just wait for the rain to stop. The hospital lobby buzzed with people, each with their own worries, their own stories. My phone had long since died from low battery. I stared blankly at the floor, lost in thought. "James?" I looked up and met a pair of familiar eyes, tinged with gentle concern. It was a young doctor I recognized. "It's me," she said, noticing my confusion. Then introduced herself, "Luna." Ah, now I remembered. She was the girl I'd quietly liked back in high school. Back then, there were rumors she liked me too. But soon after, she started dating the math vice class president from her class. I changed my number shortly after that, and we lost touch completely. "What are you doing at the hospital?" She sat down across from me. "At eye level. A relative's been admitted." I nodded, not wanting to talk. "What room?" 13. Luna looked at me for a moment. "The stroke patient, that's your uncle, right?" "Yeah." I thought she'd leave after getting her answer. But to my surprise, she moved to sit right beside me. "He was just admitted a few days ago. His condition isn't looking good." I sighed. "I know. James?" Her eyes held a complicated mix of concern and something else. Then she said softly, "If you're going through a hard time, you can tell me." I shook my head. "Thanks, but I'm fine." "Are you still holding a grudge about what happened back then?" I don't even remember anymore." But she gently held onto my arm. "Actually, back then, outside, rain blurred the glass windows. I hadn't noticed when it started. But now, standing in the downpour, was someone." I froze. All sound seemed to vanish. Even Luna's voice faded into silence. It was Harper. She wasn't holding an umbrella. Her white shirt was soaked through by the rain, clinging tightly to her body, revealing every curve beneath. Her black hair dripped water, and her dark eyes stared at me, confused, hurt, searching. I saw her gaze lock onto Luna's hand still holding my arm. In the next instant, I instinctively pulled my hand away. But when I looked up again, Harper was already gone. I stared at her number in my contacts, hesitating for a long time, but still couldn't bring myself to call. The look in her eyes just now made me feel deeply guilty. After thinking it over, I decided to go to her apartment. But standing at the foot of the building, I started second-guessing myself again. Screw it, I had to face her sooner or later. The stairwell light was out. I stepped into the darkness and pressed the elevator button. But the moment I did, a strong force yanked me backward. My shoe screeched against the floor. The world spun. I caught that familiar scent. Still the faint, delicate aroma of scholar tree blossoms. My back slammed against the cold wall. Right in front of me was a body radiating heat. It was her. Harper's shirt was still damp from the rain. She rose onto her toes, staring straight into my eyes. Her breath, hot and quick, brushed against my skin. I couldn't run. All I could do was turn my head away. It's just an old high school classmate. There's nothing between us. I don't believe you. Her voice was firm, like a nail hammered into wood. Then why are you avoiding me? Why won't you reply to my messages? Why won't you say anything at all? If I'd shown up just a little later. Were you planning to take her home with you? Harper's voice was thick with hurt. Just say it. Harper, calm down first. Listen to me. There's really nothing between us. Then why didn't you pull away from her? I didn't even get the chance. I saw you the moment I looked up. Harper fell silent. The air between us grew heavy and still. Only then did I realize. We were standing in the building's emergency stairwell. A green exit sign flickering dimly behind us. RRRRIP. The sound of tearing fabric made me jump. She grabbed my hand and pressed it firmly against her smooth, warm skin. Her fingers guided mine down the curve of her waist, then slowly upward. She stopped my hand, her voice low and slightly hoarse. I'm letting you touch me. You can do whatever you want. But you're not allowed to go near anyone else. Panic surged through me. I started stammering incoherently. No, that's not it. I wasn't. I didn't mean to. I never had that intention. Harper's grip tightened around my wrist. I could feel her white shirt was nearly torn to shreds. What on earth was happening? I don't care. The next second, I was yanked off my feet and hoisted into the air. This freakishly strong fox spirit slung me over her shoulder. Just like last time. Except this time, she was taking me straight to her apartment. Harper. Calm down, let me go. James, I don't want to hear another word. Shut up. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. Where was that cold, composed fox who used to kiss me and then immediately scowl in disapproval? Give her back to me. She tossed me onto the large bed. The very same bed I'd sat on countless times, but had never once been allowed to sleep in. Now, she straddled me. Between her eyebrows glowed a vivid crimson mark, eerie, almost hypnotic. A soft ting chimed from her ankle. That silver bell had reappeared, seemingly out of nowhere. The clear, delicate sound, paired with her utterly entrancing gaze, left me panicked and utterly lost. Then she leaned down and kissed me again. Coaxing, almost petulant, as she whispered, "What else do you want? Just say it. James, tell me. Don't you dare hide from me." I honestly didn't understand why she was so fixated on this. Was it because fox spirits hated being dumped? My breath came faster. I gritted my teeth, pulled her close, and kissed her fiercely, taking control. This time, it was Harper who froze in shock. I kissed her hard. So hard she was still dazed when I pulled back slightly. I cupped her face and spoke with absolute seriousness. First, that girl and I are just old classmates. There's absolutely nothing between us. Second, I haven't been in touch these past few days because my uncle was hospitalized. I've been swamped. Third, at first, I didn't care whether you actually liked me or not. Even if you only stayed with me out of pity. But that's over now. Now, if you don't like me, you're not allowed to hold me. You're not allowed to be with me. I held her gaze, unwavering. Slowly, Harper's breathing steadied. Her clarity returned. The glowing mark between her brows faded away. I didn't let up. I just asked, point blank, "Harper, one last time. Do you like me?" This time, she reacted instantly. And kissed me again. Her foxtails unfurled behind her, softly wrapping around me like a warm embrace. Then, very quietly, but with utter conviction, she said, "Yes. In the end, This whole mess was finally resolved. I only found out later that everyone who'd been trash-talking me online had started apologizing. Apparently, Harper had gone to each of them, one by one. Also, there were rumors that lately, people had been seeing ghostly blue flames drifting through the streets at night. So terrifying some couldn't sleep. And every single person who saw those flames had been one of my online attackers. No need to guess who was behind it. I took Harper to visit my uncle in the hospital. Predictably, we got thrown out. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. But Harper thought differently. She said firmly, "If we don't settle this properly, you'll carry this guilt for the rest of your life." She had a point. I did feel like I still owed them something. So there we sat, side by side on the long bench in the hospital lobby, propping our chins in our hands. We waited and waited, but my heartless aunt never showed up to make a scene. Instead, we ran into the very person who'd once made my fox turn pitch black with rage. James. Luna stood before me, glancing at Harper with a hint of confusion. "Is she your friend?" Without missing a beat, Harper calmly pulled my arm and looped it through hers. I cleared my throat lightly. "No, my girlfriend." "Harper," Luna said with a strained smile. "Nice to meet you." Harper smiled like a gentle spring breeze, though her tail behind her practically twitched with eagerness. "Nice to meet you too." After a few polite exchanges, Harper began stroking my fingers possessively. 10 minutes later, Luna gave a brief update on my uncle's condition and left. Only then did Harper finally let go of my hand, leaning in to ask quietly what I planned to do next. "What else is there to do? My uncle's truly paralyzed now. I'll just send them money." I started taking on translation gigs day and night. Between years of part-time jobs and scholarships, I'd saved up a modest amount. But with my schedule packed, our time together dwindled. Afraid my fox would get angry again, I moved back into her apartment for good. The sheets in my room had all been changed. Soft, fresh, and comfortable. Only, my little fox wasn't home. She said she wanted to spend more time with me. Yet for the past few days, she'd only shown up at night. Today, she didn't even come home in the evening. Only a meal, neatly prepared, waited for me in the fridge. She said she had personal matters to handle. I didn't ask. That night, as usual, I slept alone. I had a strange dream. In it, a fox kept following me. I took a wrong turn, and she bit the hem of my shirt, tugging me back on track. Not bad, just her expression was a little grumpy. The scene shifted. I saw Harper. She stood with her back to me, her white shirt crumpled and worn. I called out to her. She slowly turned around, but the corner of her lips was stained with blood. I jolted awake, terrified. Immediately, the silver bell on my ankle burned, hotter than it had ever been. My heart pounded wildly, and a wave of dread crashed over me. I grabbed my jacket and ran out the door. I raced to the hill behind the park, to the entrance of the fox den. The silver bell chimed softly, and the hidden door to the spirit realm swung open. The scene before me had changed. The great scholar tree stood withered and dry in the night, its branches bare. All the flowers in the courtyard had wilted, their petals yellowed and drooping. And in the middle of the stone path lay a figure. It was Harper. Panicked, I rushed over and scooped her into my arms. "Harper, what's wrong? What happened? Say something. Don't scare me like this. Wake up." She was still in human form, curled tightly into herself. At the sound of my voice, she slowly opened her eyes. Relief flooded through me. "What happened to you? Let me take you back to rest." "Don't touch her," a youthful, slightly childish voice said from behind me. "Or the little fox really will die." I turned around to see a beautiful girl with a high ponytail, a string of scholar tree blossoms dangling from her lips. In the blink of an eye, she was beside me. "Bring her inside." She spat out the flowers. "I'm the ancient scholar tree itself. I can save her." Her name was Olivia. older than the fox den itself. She didn't explain why Harper had collapsed, only told me to care for her. I noticed a bleeding wound on Harper's left chest. After leaving the spirit realm, I received a message. My uncle had been discharged, miraculously recovered, and money had already been transferred from my account to theirs. The heart essence of a fox is incredibly precious, isn't it? I asked Olivia. She smiled casually. Well, of course. Foxes are among the rarest, most sacred spirit creatures in heaven and earth. They can heal the sick, even bring the dead back to life. What if it's used on a human? I pressed. Olivia blinked. That human, huh? Too much impure energy. It'd take a huge amount of essence. And only the purest kind. Really tough. Now I understood everything. Harper was still unconscious. Had lost a lot of blood. But wasn't in serious danger. Just needed rest and quiet recovery. That evening, I helped Olivia prepare herbal medicine. Sitting in the courtyard, the stone table beneath the scholar tree was still there. But the ink wash painting was gone. Olivia appeared and started talking to me. That silver bell on your ankle. She gave it to you, right? Yeah, why? Peeved. PFFT. PFFT. She made a face. No wonder they say she's a fox with no love strings attached. Her brain's basically full of holes. She took her own life fate, the very core of her existence, turned it into a silver bell, and let you wear it on your ankle like a toy to stomp on. If she'd put it around your neck, that'd at least make a little sense. What did you just say? I froze, stunned. Olivia frowned. You seriously didn't know? That bell on your ankle is her life fate. Right now, you hold her life and death in your hands. If you're unhappy, she dies. Peeved. No love strings. That one doesn't even understand what love is. Didn't shed a single tear when her parents died. Got kicked out of her home. Then came to live with me, two lonely souls just scraping by. For thousands of years, she's been like a block of ice. Good thing she met you. Otherwise, I'd have thought she was plotting something against me. But I'm sure you've suffered plenty because of her too. That silly little fox has followed you for over 20 years and made you lose your memory 3 times. Since she's not here today, I'll tell you everything. Lost my memory? Followed me for over 20 years? Olivia sighed again. She's a brainless fox. Don't you go learning from her. Harper is over 2,000 years old. She was cast out of her home at age 500 and has lived with Olivia in the fox den for more than 1,000 years. She never liked going out into the human world. The last time she visited was during feudal times. Back then, Confucianism ruled, and social rituals were strict. She transformed into a human, lived among people for a few years, got bored, and returned. That's why her mindset is still stuck in that era. Men and women must remain separate, physical contact is forbidden. Add to that her complete lack of emotional wiring and painfully slow romantic reflexes. In her entire 2,000 years, the only opposite sex being the little fox ever interacted with was a flower spirit who just gained sentience outside the den. The flower spirit liked her, tried to hug and get close, and got so scared by her reaction that she flung him clean out of the den. After that, Harper set a rule. Aside from Olivia, no other spirit in the den was allowed to cultivate sentience. The next time she left the den was because, at over 2,000 years old, the impurities in her body had built up too much. She needed to revert to her true fox form to cultivate and purify herself. After Olivia nagged her endlessly, she finally dragged her giant tail out into the human world again. And that's when she met a little human boy. Though the mortal world had changed beyond recognition, she didn't care. She only noticed a kid, about 5 or 6 years old, tugging hard on her tail. And then, he bit her. He started crying, so she let go. But seeing how pitifully he sobbed, she plucked a flower and gave it to him. And he immediately stopped crying. That was her first successful human transformation. It takes 3 transformations in total. But each time, she loses all memories of being a fox. And everyone who met her during that life has their memories of her erased too. And in the next 2 lives, she met him again. That time, the boy was 12. His eyes wide and lost. Sitting alone and crying because he'd gotten separated from his family. The fox was in a hurry and shouldn't have stopped. But his sobs were so pitiful, so utterly unmanly, that she turned back anyway, bit the hem of his shirt, and dragged him home. Then came the 3rd time. He was 16 or 17 now. A young man. This time, he wasn't crying. But he'd been cornered by a gang of thugs. She didn't need to get involved. Yet she still paused. Maybe she thought, a fair-skinned, handsome youth like him didn't deserve such treatment. When the thugs saw her glowing red eyes, they mistook her for a rabid dog and bolted in terror. The fox was speechless. But at least the problem was solved. This time, the young man stared at her intently, slowly stepped forward, reached out to pat her head, and said softly, "Thank you." Then he turned and walked away without a backward glance, as if she were nothing more than a cheap, common fox, utterly unworthy of his attention. She stood there in silence for a while, then returned to the fox den, and let those memories fade away. But soon after, a powerful, restless longing stirred inside her, a desperate urge to go out into the world again. And so, the fox gained a name, a fate, Harper. She couldn't quite remember what, or who, she was yearning for. Only later did Olivia whack her with a stick and scold, "You silly fox. He's about to slip away. And you're still hesitating over whether to confess? All he ever wanted was for you to treat him kindly. But you keep hoarding dowry like a miser. By the time you've saved enough, he won't even want you anymore." Harper didn't understand love. Even when James said, "Let's break up," she didn't grasp what it meant. Only after looking it up on New York did she finally react, fiercely. "He doesn't need me anymore." Panicked, she lost control of her fox energy, stormed into the bar, and decided, even if she had to fight him, she'd drag him back. No matter how many times she lost her memories, she could never escape the fate that pulled her toward him, that made her ache to be near him. A fox's life fate is the person in her heart. That foolish fox had been so poisoned by futile thinking. She believed that saying, "I like you," meant marriage was inevitable. She hadn't even finished saving her dowry yet. Truly brainless. She didn't even know how to comfort someone. You saw her as cold. But she was too afraid to cross any boundaries with you. Only when her fox energy surged so strongly that her spirit mark appeared did she dare be even slightly intimate. Olivia's teasing words echoed in my mind. I was sitting in the courtyard, so annoyed. No wonder Harper sometimes seems so full of desperate longing. What a clueless little fox. Suddenly, a hand rested on my shoulder, carrying that familiar scent of scholar tree blossoms. I turned and pulled her into a tight embrace. "You're awake now, you silly fox." Harper looked startled. "Since when did you get so forward? If I don't take the lead, am I supposed to wait until you grow back that missing love string of yours?" "James?" She lifted her head. "I'm not missing my brain. I'm just missing one thread of fate. Olivia must have told you already." "Yeah." I wrapped my arms tighter around her waist, my voice rough with emotion. "Then why didn't you tell me sooner? If your spirit mark hadn't shown up that night, were you really going to let me walk away?" "No. I never would have." Harper's voice was soft but certain. "If you'd really left me, I probably would have, never mind. I don't even know what would have happened. Normally, I wouldn't pry, but the moment I huffed and asked, 'How much dowry have you saved up so far?' Her fox ears instantly flushed red. "Olivia really tells you everything. If she hadn't, how much longer would you have kept saving? Another few thousand years?" "No." Harper fell quiet for a beat, then whispered, "I've only just started." "Since when?" "Ever since I met you." That's when I began. Before you. Everything in my world felt dull and blurred. Even when my clan cast me out. It took me a long time to truly feel sadness. But then, you appeared. Vibrant. Unstoppable. Charging straight into my life. It was as if everything that had lost its color in my eyes was only waiting for you. After I pleaded with her many times, Harper finally agreed to reshape the silver bell into a pendant so I could wear it close to my heart. Annoyed, I asked, "Aren't you afraid that one day, if I get angry enough, I'll smash it, and you'll die?" She shook her head. "No. Because the one who loves me would never hurt it." Later, Harper and I got engaged. I slipped a silver ring onto her finger. Its band etched with ancient, serene patterns, resembling both a protective charm and a winding vine. From the moment she put it on, she almost never took it off. Much later. So far into the future that our little fox had grown old enough to run errands for soy sauce. I caught sight of my own face in the mirror, still untouched by age, and suddenly realized a human lifespan is no more than the snap of a finger to a spirit or demon. But in Harper's eyes, that vast stretch of time, as long as heaven and earth themselves, had been unbearably lonely. So she chose to share it with me. I became the first human ever to live alongside a nine-tailed fox. And, at last, the missing thread of fate in her destiny. The mortal world is far too noisy. The immortal realms, far too still. For 1,000 years, the little fox waited in solitude, until she finally met a foolish scholar who loved her. From that moment on, everything in her world came back to life. And she finally set a trap. A clumsy, tender trap of her own making.